Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, July 23rd, 2018. I want to first say that we are holding this meeting on the this meeting on the territorial grounds of the Tsunami First Nations. Clerk tonight will be Ms. Sky Snellgrove, and anyone wishing to ask questions. The question period sign-up sheets on the desk by the computers, and it will be available for you to sign in. Introduction of late items, please, Ms. Snellgrove.
Thank you. So we're removing agenda item 13A, delegation from Ben Gesselbrat, Vice Chair, Nanaimo Recycling Exchange.
Thank you. We have a motion for the adoption of the agenda as amended, please. Councillor Armstrong, seconded. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Hong, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Hong, do you have anything else?
Yes, I think Councillor Armstrong was going to add Miss Davis.
It's on there.
Oh, is it on there?
Delegation for Catherine Davis.
Ms. Snellgrove.
Yes, so the request has been added to the agenda, but we do require a motion to permit Ms. Davis to speak.
Thank you very much. Councillor Armstrong.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to add delegation for Catherine Davis for Street Entertainment's Regulation Bylaw 2011, number 7109.
Second.
Thank you. So before we get into that, we're going to need to recall the motion to adopt. Okay. So we'll take that off, put that on the table, if you will. Okay. Is there a seconder for Ms. Armstrong, Councillor Armstrong?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Kipp. All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. On the additional item, Councillor?
On the additional items.
Thank you.
Adoption.
Councillor Fuller.
I'm just wondering if I sent out a notice of motion today, would it be appropriate now to bring it up now or at notice of motion?
It would be at notice of motion.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Move adoption of the agenda as amended.
As amended. Thank you. As their seconder, Councillor Hong.
We have another one. Do we need to add that one as well? Holden southward?
Well, he was in on time, was he?
He's on there, Councillor.
Okay, good.
He's on the back bench.
Thank you. No?
Sit down.
So, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So can we have a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the regular Committee of the Whole meeting held on June 25th, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Kipp, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. There is nothing for presentations, administration, corporate services, public safety, correspondence. Now into notice of motion. Councillor Fuller.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the email I sent today, I'm sure I've brought both of these items up before, one of which someone will be speaking to, but nothing's been done about it, so I will actually have to go to making a motion. So what I will be doing is making a notice of motion with regards to updating and revising the busking and food truck bylaws.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business? Councillor Armstrong?
And just on that, we did have a motion to revise the busking bylaw. We just still haven't got the results back. That was done back in, I believe, of August of last year, August, September. So that motion was already done. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's a notice of motion. Very good, thank you. So now we come to delegations. First one is Mr. Holden Southward, to provide a presentation about future subdivisions and foreign ownership in Nanaimo.
Thank you for having me. My name is Holden Southward. Address 848 Inez Place. Yes, I'll start off just with get over the dangers of foreign ownership. I can see we see the manifestations all around, like even the tent city. A lot of these people have been forced out of the larger communities, and just because of the soaring prices of real estate. Before it was affordable, there was lots of rooming houses. They were viable before in the big cities, as well as apartments or cheap little fixer-uppers for families. There was a future. So basically, you know, if you want to have a nation, you have to start with a, you know, knowing who's the invader and who's not. They're not the invaders. They're still Canadian citizens. But that's the problem, you know, selling out your country like a prostitute. So basically, foreign ownership, we must shun foreign ownership and work to repatriate all foreign-owned real estate. Whether it be by China, the US, or other countries, it don't matter. We also have to look at some of the largest owners in our country and see where they are going to. No, it's obviously a lot of the US has bought up our real estate, but China, one thing we have to understand, when China owns, or one of its citizens own our property, China considers that part of them too. They're a different form of government, collective. Okay, China's long-term goal versus the short-term ideology of the West. China at the moment produces 50% of electric cars in the world. China is working to, and expanding it at a highly developed solar panel production and car battery production at an unimaginable rate. China has legislated by 2030 that almost all their vehicles will be electric, and they will be leading the electric car revolution in battery and solar panels. So they will, whereas the United States, unfortunately, has been, you know, influenced too much by the oil industry. That's the proof of it. You see all the big crew cabs and SUVs still floating around. It's the only problem is when you have special interest corporations, they're not looking out for the future, the benefit of the country. So this is where China's going to take over a lot more. And they have a China first policy, and that's good for them. But if the best thing we can do is simply not continue to play the game. You know, we don't have to continue down the road of, you know, going, you know, being bought up by China when China is obviously going to continue to be more and more rich, and its power and influence is going to be over us. It's kind of like, you know, why go in the ring with George Foreman when you know your career is going to be over in the first round? That's all. We don't, you know, we have to protect our interests, our next generations first. And basically, that's a pretty obvious thing, what I just said. So now I'll start off with a new development plan is what I believe is very much more close to what's in our DNA. You know, my proposal for a new residential design and ideology, I believe, is very close to what nature has designed us to be in our situation locally. The more regionally self-reliant, self-determined, and self-owned we are, the more power we can discover the truth in who we are and actualize it. Humans were meant to transcend the mere survivalist mode of life and create meaning in that. We came from nature, and we are spirit too. In discovering what it is to be human, we are only in the introduction. We haven't even got to the first chapter. This is why it is important we reject the modern idealism of globalism. Modern globalism is all about a group of corporate and banker cartels who mean to fund and engineer societal dysfunction for their advantage, to create a one-world dictatorship. The more we become dependent, divided, disillusioned, decadent, depressed, and in debt, the more we give power to them. Now, for my proposal, this is just on a 1-acre lot, and in this way, it's not, there's not too much of the land that's being wasted with roads going through, like the 5-acre parcel on the corner of 9th and Park Avenue. There's a lot of wastage on, you'll see when, on the next page, of roads. So in this one here, it's, they're all 2 levels. It's just an option, but it's like, you know, 400,000 square foot houses with parking in the front, and then 5 townhouses. And there'll be a caretaker farm unit within that. There'll also be a well house. We have plenty of water in Nanaimo. There's no reason why we can't have wells for larger parcels that want to water the land. They have a greenhouse and basically almost a half-acre for just intensive farming, including, you know, a big chicken coop. You know, I have a big farm, but this is nothing compared to what I have. You can grow an incredible amount of food, and basically the food would be, the caretaker, he'd be living on the proceeds of basically the strata, but he'd also be providing, the strata would give the option for the owners to have, food, and the rest of it would be given to the poor. So it'd be more of the caretaker could also have the option of living, if he wants, in a more spiritual way, without money, or even having an iPhone. So I believe this is getting closer to our design, what nature has made us to be, transcending the mere survivalist mode of life. Now, if we go on to the next page, I just have a rough, I guess there's a button I have to press to go to the next. Oh, there we go. This is just a rough drawing of that subdivision. It's a little bit too square as opposed to rectangleish, but just to give you an idea, all the lots are so small, they're almost useless. They may as well be townhouses. It's almost like and the roads, they're probably a little bit too big. It's not even, I didn't even draw it exactly, but there's so much wasted space with just roads. And so it's just a way of setting people up for, it's giving the maximum profit for the developer and being mortgaged to the max, taxed to the max, and dependent to the max. If you go to the next page, this is more of an accurate dimensions of the acreage. It was an acreage. It's 5 acres on the corner of Park and 9th, and this would be 48 townhomes of approximately 1,720 square feet each, and which is 4 more than the present development. And everybody would have their own backyard, actually more useful, and community grounds, and actually a huge, at least you can have 2 acres of intensive farming. And you can have maybe 2 caretakers there, and they would grow food. It's not like it would produce everything, it's just that it would be, as being a small city, this would be kind of like the halfway zone that we should be doing, preserving any kind of farmland and continuing with what's best for the community. And you see there's only one section of road there, so the land is not wasted, and there's more people living there, and it's much more useful, and it's much more holistic. Kids can grow up and learn how to farm, and you can have other activities such as making clothes or making shoes and that. This would be a real fun place. You can have meeting rooms. You can even have some of the meeting rooms where you can have cooperative homeschooling. So I believe this would be something to be seriously considered in city planning. So this would be something for the long term, better for the community, for the next generations, rather than just setting up a system that's designed to make the wealthier wealthier. That's basically what it is, like a corporate colony. Making everybody below at a disadvantage, where they can't move unless they cry up to the gods of money and go, I need financing. What a horrible state to be in. I could work before, like 20 years ago, I could actually save money by living frugal and save enough money to buy a lot and build a house. And I worked my butt off. You can't do that anymore. Period. I mean, yeah, if maybe you're a lawyer, you're lucky or something, buy Bitcoin or something. Those kind of things are getting fewer and fewer. And that's all. So making a plan, must be
Just to remind you, 1 minute, sir.
Okay. It's like China. They have long-term plans. That's more of a totalitarian state, but they have generational plans for their people, China first. And unfortunately, we have been caught up in Canada where our plans are about as long-term as their pensions and our equity. So it doesn't go beyond that. You can get trapped in that because everybody else is doing it. I got to do it, you know what I mean? And this is what we're focusing on. You don't talk the language, you don't focus on it, you don't get ahead. But I'm just here to speak what I think is the truth in the next stage. Nothing stays the same, and that's good, but just to get used to thinking differently. So it takes a lot of courage for me to say stuff like this, but I just try to do the benefit instead of hating our society. I could do that, I'd rather simply look positive. This is just one moment in time.
Thank you. Your time's up, sir. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Southwick? I see none. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next delegation is Catherine Davis, read the Street Entertainers Regulation Bylaw. Good evening, Ms.
Interesting.
Davis.
My name is Catherine Davis, and I'm here once again to address bylaw statute 7109, also known as the Nanaimo Street Entertainers Bylaw. First enacted in 1998, this bylaw went from a simple set of reasonable guidelines to a nightmare of bureaucracy. Bylaws in our city are supposed to be complaint-based. The person or persons who complain the loudest are the most likely to get action on their particular beef. Complaints result in tickets which can be disputed. I had hoped to have my tickets and my binders with all of the bylaw complaints and your injunction and everything else, but I'm incapable of carrying it right now. But if I were, I would say, here are my tickets. Here are my dispute notices. Guess what? There is no record of these tickets anywhere in your city or RCMP archives. No other busker got ticketed on port property except for me and my family. Oh yes, and here is your illegal, mandatory, interlocutory, and permanent injunction that you got against my family without a trial. And here is a ticket I received in May of 2010 for promoting the Little Woodstock West Street Festival. The bylaw officer lied to the judge stating that there had been a complaint, proven by FOI documents that were not given to me until after the court date, and by the fact that the security person refused to back him up in court. Bang, just like that, I'm a criminal. Congratulations on the conviction of a blind grandmother for playing music. Make no mistake, this is a bad faith bylaw. It is time to strike it down. It is time to use your noise bylaw, your nuisance bylaw, your safer streets bylaw, and other criminal statutes for problems on the streets. City Council should never be in the business of legislating any kind of arts and cultural activities. I have been given a diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer. I have numerous brain tumors and a sarcoma on my spine. Currently, I must take steroids in order to fight the swelling on my brain. This may be my last summer. For 20 years, I asked several councils for shade and shelter for street entertainers because the street is a workplace. Many of our buskers died from cancer of various forms. I also cited that putting busking spots directly in front of a street where there are gas fumes and diesel fumes was detrimental to the health of buskers. Unfortunately, I've been proven right. So I'm asking you to drop your bylaw. I am telling you that you have far more important things to deal with in our city than a poor busker just trying to earn a few cents. Get the Nanaimo Port Authority out of the busking business as well. I began busking on our waterfront at the ice cream shop more than 20 years ago. You took away my living, and you tried to criminalize me over and over again because I criticized the bad faith bylaw. You all owe me an apology.
I'm sorry,
Thank you, ma'am.
from my point, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Bestwick.
Catherine, thank you. Thank you for coming before us once again. Thank you for speaking from your heart. Thank you for reminding us of some of the things that have taken place. And I know that you and I have spoken on multiple occasions since the time that I became on council in 2005 in respect to the busker bylaw. And we faced countless challenges to be able to move the needle in the favor.
You've done nothing about it, none of you, not a single one of you. Gord Fuller, it's been a year since I was here. And now you bring up a notice of motion? Do you know how many buskers have died because there's no shelter and no shade?
Ma'am, Councillor Bestwick is trying to answer
I understand what Councillor
So
Bethel is
please,
trying to
please,
do.
nobody on council interrupted you when you were speaking. Please allow councillors to finish speaking. Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Captain, from my perspective, I empathize and sympathize for the situation that all of the buskers, including yourself, have been faced with year over year. And it also discerns me immensely, as I'm sure it does everybody else at this table, that there hasn't been a favorable turn of events as it relates to the busking bylaw. I can only say from my point of view, you asked for an apology, you receive an apology from my heart to your heart that we haven't been active or proactive to change the busking bylaw as we know it today. You have my 100% apology on that.
Thank you. Councillor Fuller.
Yeah, I've always agreed with you, Kathy, that the busking bylaw sucks. I mean, I was involved in the creation of it back in early 2000s. Took 6 months to get buskers on the committee. And to me, that was ludicrous. And then every time we would come up with some good ideas, they would be gone the next time, and so on and so forth. And then the bylaw came out and it was approved. Yep, you are consistent in emailing us, and on January 2nd, which was the last time I can find, I might be able to find others, I had sent an email out to Mayor and Council that I wanted to bring this forward again for review. I don't like having to make motions on everything that we do. Some things should be done just on a regular basis. Every 5 years, every bylaw should be updated. This isn't being done. So tonight, I am finding myself actually having to make a motion to have it reviewed. Yep, it's taken a long time, and for that I apologize. And no, I don't know how many buskers have died in Nanaimo because of the heat.
Thank you. Councillor Kipp.
Catherine, thank you. I'm sorry for you and your family, what you've gone through. From my personal involvement, 1996 on Parks and Recreation, we sent it to council. Had public input, tried to do something. Of course, we make it up on the fly. But quite honestly, over that time, to have my fingerprints on it didn't help. I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's a bad faith bylaw. It's a bad faith bylaw.
Every city makes it up, does what they want, do it how they want, administer
You
how they
can
want.
be a better
There's
council.
nothing you can do as a council, sitting here as an individual.
You can
I
be
can
a
say
better
there's nothing I
council.
can do for you. You can't make a difference.
I have no further questions for you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Not from the inside, anyway.
Next item is question period. Do we have any questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Nope. Thank you.
Second.
You go back.
Motion to adjourn,
Can-
and it's been seconded. Councillor Armstrong?
I did have a question for staff on the previous delegation. I didn't get the opportunity to ask it. I just wanted to clarify with Chief Fry, I believe that you did do a review and it was on the list of bylaws to be looked at, is that correct?
Through your worship, yes, that is correct. It is noted to be reviewed. They have done some preliminary work, be it not within the last year. It was missed with the change in managers at the bylaw office. And our staff have been in contact with Ms. Davis recently as well to talk about some of her recommendations going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fuller, is there a question for staff? We do have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Well, this was with regards to my notice of motion, which you told me it was appropriate to bring up at notice of motion, and somehow you managed to skip that.
No?
You put the notice.
You put the notice in.
Okay, so that's why I had asked. So now that it's a formal notice of motion, it won't just be on a scheduled review. It'll be getting done, hopefully.
It won't get done
I know.
unless they want to do it.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Did we adjourn? We were recessed?